Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
Hey, George. How much Boogie was in your night tonight, man?
How's your boner?
Dude, how much Boogie? What kind of question
How
is
much
that?
Boogie was in your night?
None. I was like sitting on the couch, like eating a Mr. Goodbar like a fat slob.
Doesn't seem like you had too much Boogie tonight at all.
No Boogie.
Nevertheless, we all watched Boogie Nights from the late 90s. George, how you feeling, man?
Great.
There you go. I'll take it. Travis, how you doing, man?
I'll take it. That was a better delivery than Hannibal Lecter. That was very loaded what he just said there. We'll see how loaded it is. I'm doing all right. Not. I've been better, been worse. How's that? As my dad would say.
Yeah, I mean, cool.
How about you? How's Dan doing?
Yeah, no one ever asked Dan how he's doing.
Yeah, nobody ever cares about poor Dan.
Oh, we care about you. We just don't ask.
Dan's doing well. Dan has no complaints, except that we're starting this recording 2 hours later than normal. So,
Well, it'll be a short episode, I think.
I thought it would be kind of lengthy, but
Hey now.
hey,
In some ways.
Hey.
and if not,
All right,
we can always do it
around.
again for the other angle. Guys,
Yes.
Boogie Nights. George, we didn't tell you anything about what this movie was about. What's your initial impression? You go in not knowing what you're going to watch. You see this movie.
Yeah, even we had the trailer. So we kind of knew what to expect.
My initial impression, I mean, honestly, when it ended, the movie's done, and I'm like, how do I feel about this movie?
Huh.
Right?
Same reaction I had
I'm trying to like, how do I feel about it? What did I just watch? And honestly, I could have went my whole life and never seen this movie and been fine. Like, I feel like this tragedy kind of story has been told better in other movies, and this is kind of just like, a bunch of shit that I guess people in the 80s wanted to see, or 90s, but I'm like, meh. For me, this didn't really do it for me.
Right. What made this big back then? Because again, what year was it, Dan? Was it 98, 99?
97, I think.
Yeah. So maybe I need some perspective. I don't know.
Okay, 97. I was still working at the movie theater. This was one of the first times you were getting A-list actors doing full frontal stuff, acting. Burt Reynolds, who was the older gentleman, the director.
Yep.
Seeing him in this role was kind of like when Travolta in Pulp Fiction played Vincent.
Mm-hmm.
He had a string of bombs. Like he was nothing anymore. No one was hiring him for anything because he just couldn't put a movie together.
Okay.
And then he got Pulp Fiction, which took his career in another direction. Same thing with Robert Downey Jr. had the same kind of career.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man changed everything. For this, Burt Reynolds.
I think it was Sherlock Holmes, but go ahead.
Well, Iron Man made him a much bigger
I'm just
household
kidding.
name.
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds wasn't washed up, but he was always like a sex symbol, funny, like 80s, 70s, 80s. He was kind of like the Harrison Ford leading man.
Yeah, it's okay to say he was washed up at the time.
No, he wasn't washed up. He just, when he got older, he wasn't wasn't castable.
His career was slowing down.
I don't know if it was
no
slowing
big deal.
down. I just think he wasn't working. He chose not to work.
Happens to everybody,
Right. Especially at that age.
Especially at that age.
But this kind of... Did he get nominated for this?
He got nominated, yes. And
no, he shouldn't have.
Yeah,
wow.
he actually, there was talk that he might have won had he not made such an effort between the time of making the movie and it being released of distancing himself from it because he didn't care for it.
Right.
So he kind of screwed himself out of an Oscar, which is kind of funny.
Huh. Was it 97? Who did he lose to? Denzel?
I didn't look.
I have to look that up. But yeah, my issue with it was Mark Wahlberg. I felt that was a bad cast because he was not up to par. Like, he's in a movie with William H. Macy, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's the other big actor in this movie? Julianne Moore,
Don Cheadle. Don't forget
Don
Kansas
Cheadle.
City's favorite son, Don
Right.
Cheadle.
and
We love
who's
that guy.
what's
Uh,
Riley, the brother from Step Brothers.
John C. Reilly,
John C.
Luis
Reilly.
Guzman.
Oh my God, John
Yeah.
C. Reilly in this movie. I mean, John C. Reilly is this movie, and I kind of
Yes.
forgot how much a
Mhm.
part of this, like,
And
the
he was
charm
kind of a
of
nobody
this
when
movie.
this came out.
Yeah, I didn't realize John C. Reilly had been around this long.
Yeah, well, this is the kind of movie that kind of pushed him from character actor to not leading man, but like build above
Yeah.
the title of the
Because
movie.
dude, what I know of John C. Reilly is like from Talladega Nights.
Right.
You know, he's like
Well,
a funny
you don't
guy.
get a Talladega Nights if you don't have Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights.
I mean,
True.
if no other reason, George, to sign up for this movie, it's that it paved the way for Talladega Nights.
Oh, by the way, I don't hate the movie. Like,
It has its
the
moments.
soundtrack was phenomenal.
yeah.
Oh,
They
yeah.
Like,
made a lot of money.
So good. Such a good track. All the tracks were good. Yeah, and all the actors, I mean, yeah, the cast was awesome.
Mhm.
Like,
Minus Wahlberg.
without a doubt. I mean, I don't
He was
know.
okay.
Wahlberg was really young too.
Yeah,
but like,
he didn't.
and also I've heard Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. I know he's not that bad of a singer. So
Yeah, no,
Right.
that's acting, man.
yeah, I was like, I don't
Nailed
know.
it.
I don't know if I could sing that bad if I tried.
And you're not hung like that either. But then
Well,
again,
neither
I
is he.
definitely
So-
would not. I definitely would not be casted for this movie.
So,
No,
guys,
that was
a
a prosthetic
couple of
of all
things. You mentioned
prosthetics.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Yeah.
It's good that you're already familiar with that, because if you weren't, I mean, honestly, it's kind of not good that you're already, because that would have been a good moment to introduce you to another great 80s, 90s music video.
Yes.
The thing is, we keep talking about directors who started off in music videos, moved their way into mainstream film in the 90s. This one's a little different. This guy starts out, basically this is his second big movie, and it's essentially a remake of his first big short that he made in like high school. So this is a story he's been waiting to tell for a while. He finally gets it. It's his second big movie. And then after this movie, he starts making music videos for a little while he's on his way up to doing like Oscar tier. And still, I mean, his latest movie is probably going to at least be nominated next year. So he's still like a top tier director, but he took a little diversion to make music videos, because I guess that's just the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I love that opening crane shot, man. Like, you want to talk about a movie
yeah.
that just immerses you in a time.
It reminded me of what Landis does in the Thriller video.
Yeah.
That opening after the werewolf preamble, I guess, or prologue. And then they cut to the movie theater. They do that same crane shot. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, wow, that's total Carpenter, Landis homage.
But the way that they managed to introduce, the entire principal cast in one shot in the first 2 minutes of the movie, while you're rocking to the 70s song, just feeling, the cars and the fashion and the lighting and everything. Oh, man. I mean, that's how you introduce a world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Throw somebody into it.
Yeah, it had that Studio 54 kind of feel. That early 80s, late 70s Playboy Mansion kind of feel. Yeah, I mean, it was solid. I texted Dan, and I was like, I'm not really sure, because after a while, I hadn't seen it since high school, or like when I was working, so 97, so after college. I haven't seen it since then, so it seemed kind of dated to me.
You mean
Not
a movie made to look like the 70s and 80s look dated?
No, I don't mean dated like visually. I just mean like it has been done many times after that, to where it's almost not fresh.
What are you
Like when
talking
this
about?
movie came
Name
out.
2 movies that have done this since.
Well, it has a lot of like a Jackie Brown feel to it.
Jackie Brown
this-
took place in the present day, though, and came out like the same year.
Yeah, but I mean that retro vintage feel, purposely done. the in your face kind of not holding back on the gratuity of the events and or the
gratuity is it's something that you give someone extra for doing a good job.
Gratuitousness.
I was listening to one of our episodes and we kept saying gratuity, and I'm like, that is not
wrong.
the right fucking word.
Yes.
Well, I think it is probably the right word. It's just that it's a gratuity payment.
Gratuitousness.
It's an additional
yeah.
payment in addition to the actual services rendered. So I think you guys were fine using it in that way, but
okay.
Right.
I'm like, this doesn't sound like the right word. It was like the Princess Bride. I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Right. I mean, it has that Big Lebowski feel as well. Like the feel of this movie has been done multiple times. Just
it sounds like George got a tragedy he didn't love, and you got nostalgia you didn't love. What the hell else do you guys want? Now, George, you're watching a movie that we gave you no context for, and sometimes that works in our favor, and sometimes maybe it doesn't work in our favor. So let me just throw a couple of things at you. Are you aware that this movie is a biopic, however you want to pronounce it, a movie based on someone's real life? Loosely.
I was not aware of that, although I am aware that someone probably lived a life like this at some point.
Is it about Mr. Holmes?
It is about Mr. Holmes. I mean, unofficially, right? Because it's not a biography. But the original short was released the same year that John Holmes died of AIDS in the 80s. He died in 88, and the short came out in 88. So imagine, like, a high school student, director is like, hey, this guy's all over the news. Oh, he's crashing and burning in this horrifying dramatic exit from this world. And so he creates the Dirk Diggler character for that movie and just tells like a shorter version of this story. So it's based on a real guy. He did a ton of movies. Actually, and people will tell you that the Burt Reynolds character is based on Gerard Damiano. Now, more loosely, I would say, than even the Dirk Diggler character being based on John Holmes. Now, Holmes resembled in certain ways the character that Mark Wahlberg plays in this movie. He actually, in the face, looked a lot more like Thomas Jane in this movie, the friend with the mustache that gets shot in the shoulder. So that's kind of a weird thing if you have any like knowledge of the golden age adult erotic movies. You see
Punisher.
Thomas Jane show up, the Punisher, also from the show Hung, right? Hilarious. He walks in and he's got the stash and the hair, and you're just like, oh no, that's John Holmes. Like, I don't know who Mark Wahlberg is supposed to be. So it's a weird way to do it, to do a biopic of a guy, but then like maybe it's not actually the guy you thought it was. Maybe it's this other guy. It would be like if in Inside Llewyn Davis, all of a sudden John Goodman showed up with a full beard and dressed like Dave Van Ronk. And you'd just be like, wait, hold on. I thought this movie was based on, but now he's, It's kind of a mess.
We all know it
was
not the Hedgehog, so.
Well,
it wasn't, what's his name? What the hell's his name? The Hedgehog. Ron Perlman. Ron Jeremy. Ron Perlman. God, it's not Ron Perlman.
I don't know who Ron Perlman is.
He played Hellboy.
You don't want to see him in a porno. You don't want to see him in anything.
I think I saw his truck the other day.
Wait, who, Hellboy?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Ron Perlman.
Oh. Was he the guy with the diesel?
Yeah. Yeah. Never mind.
Callbacks to something we didn't talk about.
We didn't even record that.
Although I do kind of wonder, as far as like, if you're trying to draw parallels, the guy that shows up and kind of replaces Dirk Diggler, I almost called him John Holmes. The guy that replaces Diggler with like the skinny guy with the big hair. I could almost see him being, an analog for a Ron Jeremy with the timing of everything that's going on in that. Plus, Ron Jeremy supposedly was a technical advisor on the movie, helped the director kind of get his bearings to make it feel more realistic to the time period. So,
and what it's like on the set,
right,
of one of those movies, because you need that.
Now, the wife of William H. Macy, George, do you know who William H. Macy is?
I mean,
That's my wife.
when you say the wife of William H. Macy, I can kind of, I'm picturing the character's face in my head.
Okay.
Yes.
He's
Well,
a
you saw
famous actor.
Fargo.
He's been in a bunch of
Yes,
stuff.
I've seen Fargo. Yes.
So he's Bill in this movie. His
Mm-hmm.
wife's played by Nina Hartley, who is a very famous adult star from the era after this movie, which is kind of, you know, as the things kind of line up, they get younger people than would have been in this particular era. But she's very prolific in the industry. And actually the judge who plays, over Julianne Moore's kind of custody stuff toward the end of the movie, she's also an adult star from this era, actually. So it's an interesting thing to like sprinkle these people in and give them a chance at a legit mainstream movie, while also honoring kind of the people that they're dishonoring by showing them at their lowest at times in these movies. Although most everybody gets some redemption in the plot, at least, except for the ones that all die. A lot of them die.
Yeah.
A lot of death.
Some of it's pretty much 50-50, I think.
But the idea that like the Dirk Diggler character has like a series of movies where he's this repeating James Bondian, Bourne Identity type action star.
Starsky and Hutch.
John Holmes had a character, Johnny Wad, who appeared in a bunch of movies from the 70s to the early 80s. So, I mean, that's where you start to go, oh, okay, I see where they're starting to draw from his repertoire. Actually, the guy that directed Road Games, you guys' favorite movie of last year, he directed a movie right before that called Phantasm, which is like a softcore kind of sex romp in Australia. And John Holmes makes a very, starring role in a couple of scenes. So there's some weird overlap between where we've been and where we're going.
Okay.
So, I mean, mainstream kind of stuff as far as this stuff goes, right? It's hard to quantify in a world that we live in now where adult entertainment is even more... it sounds weird to say it's more stigmatized today than it was then, because of course it's always been stigmatized. But the impression of what adult entertainment is today is so much more disposable than it was in the 70s. A lot of it having to do with kind of the arc of this movie, right? Where they get to video. Did you follow the technical stuff at all, or did you just glaze over when they started talking about?
He stopped watching
a
when
little.
the wash rag with the circuits were on.
Yeah, the circuit board wash rag.
So
the circuit board wash rag.
At the beginning of this movie, these guys are real movie producers producing actual movies with crews and film.
No, yeah, that didn't go over my head at all. I was listening.
And by the end of the movie, it's just like, oh, hey, we've got a handy cam in the back of a car, and we're just making whatever we can make. It's
reality TV now.
Yeah, it just becomes more just disposable and less artistic, and just more. It's like there's a glut during this era of video porn. And so the funny thing is, you've got the VCR versus beta battle of the 80s that ends up, because porn is more accessible on VHS, that's like the thing that pushes the needle and defeats beta. The market demand of all this just like kind of crappy made for video recorded, never going to look better than the video that you buy because it's recorded on 1-inch videotape.
Right.
It's not a movie anymore. It's just
no.
It's more akin to what you'd see online today in these, very accessible but very little artistic merit websites that just cater to, personal consumption in the privacy of your home.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best way I can say it and keep us monetized. But, it wasn't that way with the movies of the 70s, because you actually had to go to a theater. Whether or not you followed the local ordinances was, from what I understand, flexible depending on where you where you were. Not everybody enjoyed the best treatment.
Right.
But it's an interesting thing to think that, like, for a time, movies were being made with ambitious actors, ambitious directors, And sure, the product isn't exactly Oscar winning most of the time. A lot of the acting that they show, like the actual dialogue scenes, kind of awkwardly delivered between the characters, were actually taken from other films so that they could say, like, no, this is realistic. Like, this is actually how the acting was in some of these movies. So, yeah, some of the movies are still garbage, but they're trying, you know? And by the mid-'80s, nobody's trying anymore. And now that the VHS era through the DVD and now the streaming and on-demand era has hit, you can just track the quality in the artistic output dropping while the frequency and availability skyrocket. So in 97, they didn't know where we would be by now. It's gotten way worse. But what they track in this movie is, you know, an interesting dissection of the progress of art into
Did you hear that?
commercial consumption. What was that background noise?
That was our theme song.
My phone, I was looking in my my podcast folder, and like I hit our podcast for a second by accident, and it was like I'm like, oh shit,
That's
didn't
us.
even do
That's
that.
my song.
That's your song.
that's you wrote that song.
So, the Wonderland murders. Have you ever heard of the Wonderland murders?
I mean, heard of?
They're not that famous anymore because they never did get
I'm not
the
really
series of. They're not
sure.
quite the Manson murders in terms of public notoriety, but
Yeah.
they had a lot of notoriety at the time in media in LA because you had multiple people murdered and one lady who barely survives this egregiously awful head wound. And John Holmes, famous adult film star, gets put on trial and charged with the murders. So it didn't necessarily go down in real life like it did in this movie, but that whole scene is based on, loosely, events that happened in real life and affected, you know, everyone involved, including John Holmes, who was acquitted. No one could ever prove that he did or didn't do anything, and he never admitted to anything, and then he died. So whether he was involved at all, who knows? But, you know, the drama of this movie is not exactly pulled from fiction, right? Like a lot of this is
Right.
just adapted from things that actually happen within the world of the LA adult film scene, including,
Right.
I was reading even the suicide of Bill, not exactly how it went down in real life, but there was in the early 90s an adult star whose wife, also an adult star, was cheating on him with another adult star, and he chose to blow his own brains out in her front yard.
Mm.
So, kind of ripped from the headlines and then adapted into...
It's like they took notes and they were like, all right, well, kind of like when you do a project with your kid and you do like all these outlines and then you put it together into a story. That's what they did. They just took all this shit that happened and they put it into a movie. Which,
I mean, that's kind of how you make movies. But yeah.
I mean, like, they maybe not everything was related to the other thing, but they just took situations and made them related.
Yeah, they put them in the same universe.
Right, like some of these people might not have ever crossed paths, but they took maybe the situation that happened to this porn star that had nothing to do with John Holmes, and then they just put it in the story because it was interesting.
Yeah,
and
but
kind
they
of a
made
cool
him
situation.
his producer, and then
Right.
and then they made him kill
Right.
himself.
So it wasn't like, I guess it would be, would you say earlier, loosely based?
yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it.
It does have the Bill story is sad, right? But it's played for laughs for the most part. But the part where he's okay, little cinematography nerd moment here, but she's hooking up with a guy at a party. The wife is hooking up with some random guy at a party. There's like a semicircle
parking
of
lot?
dudes watching. Yeah, she's in the driveway, right?
yeah.
And then Bill walks up the hill. He's talking to Kurt, the other producer guy. And they frame it as a 2-shot. So you've got both guys in frame. But then in the middle, slightly out of focus, she's
It's her getting
continuing
railed.
Yeah.
to hang out carnally with this dude in the driveway while there's a semicircle of dudes around. And the conversation they have, I wish I had the script in front of me. And I don't know if
Right.
it's ever leaked because I can't tell if Macy flubs his line and they just liked the take so much they kept it, or if they really did have the foresight to really just screw this line up in the script so that he would show how like discombobulated he was. But did you catch the line, George?
I don't think so.
He says, "My effing wife has an ass in her cock in the
Ass in her
driveway."
cock.
He says it backwards.
Oh, yeah.
I
And
heard
they
that
go with
too.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so good. But at the same time, like, I want to know, is that in the script or is that just some moment of like, the acting was there, so we just kept it and it makes sense enough in the context of the scene? I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did notice that when it happened, but I wasn't sure that I heard what I thought I heard, so I just like continued watching it. But I did notice.
You see, what's the line from Red Dragon?
It wasn't Red Dragon.
Manhunter.
You
They both
look,
say.
but you do not
You look-
see, or something
You
like
look,
that.
but you do
I
not
know,
see.
yeah, that was
That is
Red
Red
Dragon,
Dragon.
wasn't it? Yeah. You look, but you did not see.
Yeah. And how did Hannibal know about the videotapes? I don't know. Maybe he, I don't know. I'm.
No,
yes.
because he's such a good psychiatrist that he can just break people down.
Because he had an ass in his dick.
He had an ass in his dick.
Oh my god. No, George, there's a character in this movie who is he's like the key grip or something, right? He works the boom mic. His name is Scotty. He's played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Do you recognize that actor? He has long hair in this movie. He had short hair in the last movie that you saw him in.
Yeah, I recognize him.
Okay.
He's the extreme, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see now when we talked about Red Dragon, Travis is like, man, Philip Seymour Hoffman starts off playing kind of goofy guys and then transforms into this more serious, fantastic actor. The end of his career, he is just knocking every role out of the park.
Yeah,
but
all cylinders.
He starts out in a lot of roles like this where he is just never got 2 feet under him, right? Like always in motion.
You have to see Along Came Polly. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's, Ben Stiller. He plays like a 40-year-old community theater guy.
Okay.
Who thinks he's like he thinks he's Olivier, like he thinks he's like Shakespeare reincarnated, but he's doing like a
podcast.
Was that a honk? Because I think I am. No, I don't. But he's like going to be in this production of Jesus Christ Superstar, and he's like a diva, and it's like there's a bunch of high school kids.
Yeah,
like it's the funniest thing.
Yeah, he's a diva, but he like lacks awareness.
Yes, and he's like, he won't come out of his dressing room. Like it's just obnoxious. It's perfect. It's like because I have met people like that where it's like,
yeah, me too.
That's their life. Community theater. Shut up. Community theater. I am not a diva. Where are my green M&Ms?
Oh my god.
God damn it, Shirley. Why do you always have to be such an asshole? I beg your pardon. I'm not an asshole. I'm an actor. Same thing.
It reminds dude, I see my whole entire life through the lens of the show Community. I'm sorry, you guys should watch it. Everyone should watch it. But in the show Community, Luis Guzman is the most famous graduate of this community college. Okay. And there's an episode where they're trying to redo their commercial because they've had the same commercial for like 15 years, and they have like a budget of like, I don't know, $2,000 or something. But Luis Guzman hears about it, and he wants to be in it to help promote his college that he graduated from.
Right.
And the dean of the school is the director, and he goes completely over the top. Like he becomes a director. But there was a point where like Chevy Chase is like, well, if I can't have this, I'm not leaving my trailer. He's like, you don't have a trailer. He's like, then I'll rent a trailer and I won't leave it until I get the trailer that I don't have. But anyways, guys, Community. It's a great episode, by the way.
And Luis Guzman is amazing in this movie too.
Right. And when I saw his face, I was like, it's Luis Guzman.
Yeah.
He graduated from Greendale.
There you go.
Nice.
And we haven't even talked about Roller Girl, Heather Graham, and I think her first big movie. This is when she broke onto the scene. She's amazing in this movie.
She does not get the sequel to Austin Powers without this movie.
Yeah. But I mean, her range, the scene where her and Julianne Moore are doing coke together and like creating a new familial bond and also tripping balls or whatever the term is when you're on cocaine. I mean, the actresses disappear and the two characters are just center stage. It's really good. I mean, this movie, it's kind of goofy, but the acting, I think now granted, I've not been as that many plays, but I recognize this as
I started smirking before you even said it
superb acting.
because I knew where you were going. The acting in this movie is very good, minus Wahlberg. I think he was kind of out of his element.
You
But
know,
other than that,
I would argue
but
that
it worked.
If the order from the director was, hey, you need to be right on the border of like, breaking what will eventually become the Tropic Thunder rule. You gotta toe that line right on the edge of the
Mhm.
Tropic Thunder rule. I mean, him and with the help of John C. Reilly's poetry, the two of them. I mean, if that's what they're going for, they nail it.
Yeah. I just think he lacked the experience and range to hit some
Are you
of the more
talking about
emotional things.
The Tropic Thunder rule?
Yeah,
Are you talking about what I think you're talking
you
about?
never go full all the way,
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
and
No,
they
I
go
think
close.
For
they're
him,
real close.
my issue was
Yeah.
like when he's yelling at his mother, when she goes in and starts ripping his posters off the wall and whatever.
Mhm.
He's trying, and it's coming through, but it's not. He's not believing what he's doing, so you can tell he's just he's doing it. He's not really feeling like he's not having those emotions. He's playing those emotions, and that showed in a movie full of people that know how to be the emotion and not play it. Like it sticks out when he's the only one doing it.
I
That's what I'm
thought he
trying-
did
like-
great.
Yeah.
But he did do very, very good. But there were certain parts where he had like that emotional, like when he's like, I'm gonna be the best thing. Like when he's yelling at her, you don't know what I'm gonna become. Like he's yelling, but it was almost
Do you
like
see?
he was not. I didn't. The rule is if you don't believe what you're saying, the people aren't going to believe what you're saying. So if you're playing it and you're just acting it, then it's going to show. If you believe what you're saying, even if you're a three-eyed alien on the planet Fucknut, if you believe that you're a three-eyed alien on the planet Fucknut, then
That's
people
the
will
fake
believe
planet
it.
name you chose?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like, but if you're sitting there going, man, I feel weird. I can't believe I got a third eye on.
I
makeup
dude,
sucks.
I understand, and I feel now that you say it, I think you're probably right because knowing Mark Wahlberg, because he's like a good friend of mine.
You guys way
yeah,
back.
we go way back. Knowing Mark Wahlberg, he probably would have wanted to play that like, screw you, bitch, and left without getting all emotional and like, it
Right, it's hard for him to push that street.
right.
That street.
But that's Mark.
cred.
That's Mark Wahlberg. Like that's his personality,
Right.
and that's how I feel like he would. I don't want to speak for him, but I feel like that would have been more his wheelhouse.
If you see him in the movie Fear, he's in a movie called Fear where he plays like a high school badass that kind of infiltrates his family. It actually has the guy from Manhunter, Graham. I don't know his
William
character name was.
Peterson?
William Graham. Yeah, William Peterson, who plays Graham. Isn't that his name, Graham, in
Yep.
Manhunter? So he is the father of Reese Witherspoon, and Wahlberg plays.
Oh,
like
that's the movie with the roller coaster.
Is there a role?
It's
Yeah.
the only thing I've
Yes,
heard about from
yes.
that movie is the roller coaster scene.
Yes, so he plays the like the kid that you don't want your daughter to date, and he kind of infiltrates the family, and he's just a piece of shit, and he plays a really good piece of shit.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have to go to the emotional level. He can. It's easier to scream and yell and be angry than it is to actually hit
Dude,
that
he's-
emotional level.
It's like he's from Boston, dude. It's
Right.
like it's trying to.
They're not allowed to have emotion. in
Yeah, it's
Boston.
like it's like putting Bill Burr on the screen and be like,
Right.
just act like you're that you're really emotional
be
about
sad.
it.
He's like, I'm not
It's-
fucking be sad.
There's no sad. There's
Yeah.
no sad. There's
There's no sad.
only angry. There's only you. You
Right.
know, that's all there is.
He has
in that
grown on
person.
me over the years, but I think in this movie it was like his first attempt at like real acting, like playing certain emotions to where it
Yeah.
was like over the years, like his comedy has gotten a lot better, his emotions have gotten a lot better, but this
Sure.
movie's like his first big break movie.
And you know what? It wasn't terrible.
no, it was not.
But like,
No.
I hear you, Trav. I feel that. I agree with you.
I just think when you're in a movie with all these heavyweights, you're gonna stick out a little bit because these guys have been doing
Well,
it for
I mean,
a while.
They kind of helped him with that.
Right, it did stick out.
Well,
a
yeah,
lot.
he was trying to. That's what his goal was, I think.
Now,
Anyway.
this cast is fantastic. There's a lot of great people in it. I hope we've name-checked all the important people, but I haven't been keeping very good a track. But my favorite person in this whole movie, I think, is the bank loan officer. Did you catch who that was?
No, but I thought I recognized him.
Well, his name is Don Amendolia, and you're not going to know him by name, but
No.
he did appear as the very corporate-approved announcer for Wayne's World when they do the new and improved Wayne's World. You know, party on Wayne.
Yeah, with his
Party on guard.
with his Doritos.
Yeah, that's him. That's who he is. So as soon as his face popped up, I was like, oh my God, it's him.
That's good.
It's so party on Wayne.
Party on, Wayne.
Yeah, I like Don Cheadle in this too.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
What
The
character did he play?
robbery scene,
the black cowboy.
Oh god.
his stereo dancing to country music is so good.
Oh my god,
That's a name that I recognize, but I didn't like connect the face
Oh,
with the
Cheadle's
name.
awesome.
Yeah, I've seen him in a lot of things.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
around a while.
But this
is he
is
in
one of
Ocean's
his-
11? I think he's in Ocean's 11 as
One
well.
of his earlier roles, right? Like,
And doesn't he usually play like a goofy kind of?
no, he plays all kinds
No,
of stuff.
No, he
He's-
plays serious roles.
He's a good
he was
actor.
Sammy Davis Jr. He's a great actor.
Didn't he do Hotel Rwanda? I mean,
Yeah.
so
Maybe
I mean,
just the only shit I've seen is.
But he was in
silly
Iron-
shit.
He plays War Machine in Iron Man, so people kind of like today know him from that. But
Oh,
he's
that's
been
right.
doing
I forgot
movies
about that.
forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a Kansas City guy. We happily claim him as one of our better actors.
His character was great in this.
Yeah.
The robbery scene to come at the end of, I mean, the whole scene between Roller Girl meeting the high school bully guy in the back of the car while Mark Wahlberg is falling back into his own, his old ways and getting desperate and then getting beat up. You've got the score that's just like background noise and a bell tolling at a regular
Mm.
interval. Like, that whole scene is so dire but so good.
It
And
might have
then
been my favorite scene.
I knew you would love that.
Yeah.
And then to follow it with that horrifying robbery scene and that little bit of like, fuck the man, I'm taking this money. That's a good scene, man. That's a good, I mean, in the middle of a very good movie, that is a standout series of events. Kind of a hint at what's to come with Paul T. Anderson and his ability to kind of grab the drama.
There's a little bit of Tarantino in this movie.
Well, it's the era,
style-wise.
man. By 97, everybody wants to be Tarantino.
Mm-hmm. And a little bit of Goodfellas. Like the music makes me feel like that's Scorsese uses music as a character in all his movies. Like it's just kind of they blend. They almost become like bumpers to a scene. With this, it was like every song was like, oh, I love that song.
Well,
Oh,
and
I love that
the
song.
pool party is essentially just a music video, the way it's
Yeah.
shot. And when the music gets away from the singing parts is when the dialogue comes up. And then, very, 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 I really like Paul Thomas Anderson. This guy makes a hell of a movie. And to think that this is literally his second feature.
What was the first movie you made?
It's like High Stakes or something like that. I'll look.
Mm.
It's one I'd not heard of. I'm sure it's great though, because this guy knows how to make good movies. Have you seen Licorice Pizza yet? I haven't seen it, but I want to.
No.
Licorice Pizza?
Yeah, it just came out this year. It's supposedly really, really good. Hard 8 is what it's called. Came out the year before. John C. Reilly again. Oh, Sam Jackson.
Who the hell is this asshole?
Oh, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Chip, we're watching this next week, boys. Going in blind.
It's the same cast.
Same guys. Okay, last person I haven't talked about from the cast that just blows me away. There's a Dr. Octopus sighting in this movie.
Molina?
Yeah.
I didn't see him. I didn't catch him.
Oh, you saw him. But did you see?
No, I did not see.
The guy who they rob. The tripped out, spending $5,000 on whatever bag of fake stuff they bring in with the armed guard and the guy lighting off firecrackers.
Okay.
That like hippie guy is played by Molina.
Nice.
Nearly unrecognizable. His behavior is unrecognizable. I mean, he's in this character all the way. But Man,
all
he's feeling good and ready to party until all the people get shot.
That scene that you're talking about, that was my college experience.
You were part of the Wonderland murders in college?
Kind of.
Cool.
No, but like the way that they were hanging out is the reason why I don't remember any of the movies that I've seen.
Is it the firecrackers interrupting the audio?
Yeah, no, yeah. There was like one dude that was just off to the side, and then there was like my buddy Zach, who was the like the main. He was the guy doing the air drums to the like making everyone pay attention to the song that was on.
Oh yeah.
And and like just getting really into it, and yeah, and I kind of feel like I was sitting there like I don't know, probably John C. Reilly's character.
So he directed Magnolia as well.
Yep.
I just looked it up. And it has Alfred Molina, Julianne Moore, John C. Reilly, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Tom Cruise. Like, he's...
Yeah, work, especially supporting actors. Work with the guys that you know you like to work with.
Yeah.
You know what I just realized? What I know Philip Seymour Hoffman from?
Twister.
Charlie Wilson's War.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, it was difficult for me to like connect it because they're so different.
Mm-hmm.
The characters that he plays are so different. But he was pretty badass in Charlie Wilson's War.
Yeah, the end of
There
his
will be
career,
blood.
man, the last 10 years or so of his life, he was just gravitas role after gravitas role after doing 10 years or 15 years before of just goofballs.
Yeah.
But they finally like gave him a chance. And the thing is, Hollywood being as it is, he doesn't have a conventional leading man look, right? So it's tough for a guy that like is that guy to get a chance to be anything but the goofy sidekick. I mean, you've seen it recently
Hoffman?
with like Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen both. They come into Hollywood as, hey, we're the heavy funny guy, and then after they've paid their dues and work out a lot, they get to do Green Hornet, which
But see, my issue with that is like, don't be mad. This is how you made it. This is how you broke in. Yeah, you can change your look, but if someone wants to bring you in to be the funny sidekick, that's your shtick. That's your thing. Don't be mad that you're not getting, Capote off the bat. You have to make sure that you're there for a reason. They hired you into the fold for a certain reason. And to me, Jonah Hill and Rogan and like all those guys, that's what they were. Just like what's his name, Chris Pratt. He was always like the funny sidekick, low overweight. But then they turn him into a superhero.
Dude,
they give him a regiment, and
dude is so funny.
But he turned himself into whatever.
Yeah.
Not because he felt like he wasn't getting the roles. He just transformed himself for a role, and then that put him in a whole different bracket.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. I can see why you wouldn't want to get typecasted, right? But then I also think of some of the guys that like, if they didn't take the role because it was like the secondary role, what a disservice that would have been,
But a lot of career, like Vince Vaughn was the mouthy friend. That if he did that enough times, then he became the leading man. Same thing with who's the guy?
Dude, I'm just thinking about like the the actual secondary role. Like think about it, dude. Ben
Stiller.
The Office, like the guy who plays Jim.
Is it Krasinski?
Yeah. He originally was trying out for Michael Scott, or like the branch manager,
right?
Whatever. And he kind of like didn't want anything but that. And they were like, we want you, but we want you for this character. And he was like, no.
But he made it.
And then he decided to say, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And like, dude, Jim Halpert is like, who doesn't know who that is?
And he's married to Emily Blunt.
To be fair, though,
like,
I mean, you're talking
he
about
was
a guy.
So good.
You're talking about a guy who went for the main, like, I don't know, face role of the show, didn't get it, and ended up being the heart of the entire show with the arc of the show written around him. So it's not like he's not the guy that drops the chili, that,
Right.
right? Like, that's the difference, I think, is,
Yeah.
Chili Guy is never in the,
And
he might get
and you know-
Michael Scott. He might be a great Michael Scott, but they're never going to base the heart and soul of the show around him. He's going to be the guy that drops the chili.
Right.
Right, but I think in that case, Dan, I think that the show went on for so long, and when you're writing a show, you have time to develop characters like that, and for a secondary character to become the main character in movies, you don't have that
Right.
opportunity. But that
TV,
show was
you do.
on for so long that the characters kind of
It's the Homer Simpson effect. Like that
What's that?
show, the Simpsons was written around Bart Simpson, but then like around season 4 or 5,
exactly.
everybody
Yeah.
found Homer way more funny and way
Mhm.
more interesting. So they're like, okay, we're gonna start doing the show around him.
Yeah, if you watch
changed the whole show.
The Office, the Michael Scott character was a jerk in the
Right.
first season, or like halfway through the
Well,
first
'cause
season.
he's based on the original show.
Right, and that changed like within 6 episodes. He turned into like this lovable
Because Steve Carell, you can't hate him. It's very easy to hate Gervais because he wants to be hated. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm going to say what I need to say so people hate me. Carell,
He
based
was-
on his movie choices too, like he
Yeah.
just became such a sweet guy. Like everybody, it's hard to hate him, even though the first couple episodes are cringe. Like when he says things, you're just, oh my God.
but they're so good though.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so cringy because it's based on the Gervais character,
Right.
and that character Gervais in the British Office was just like from start
the
to
chain.
finish was that way.
Yes.
Was a jerk and totally
and it
unaware
works
and
because of the accent.
no, it didn't work. I mean, it worked because I think that the audience that was watching that show appreciates that kind of
Right.
dark humor because
No, it doesn't work here.
it doesn't work here.
No.
But
We'll have Richard on to talk about why it works over there because it's just that Mike Myers cashed in on that. Like that whole BBC, when he was in Canada, that whole British humor kind of filtered over, and that's how he developed it from the Canadian aspect and then brought it to America because he kind of softened it. Ryan Reynolds does the same thing. Jim Carrey was able to do it. It's just like Canadian comedians are able to take that brand of humor and bring it here, and we are like, oh, that's hilarious. But when Gervais does it, it's offensive.
I mean, some people love Gervais.
Right.
I mean,
He has his moments.
I
do.
should tell you my favorite.
Let's just say I do. Let's speak
I
for
should
myself. I
tell
love
you my favorite Jim Carrey stand-up joke, but I'll do it off air.
Okay.
It's a good one.
But Hoffman, like when he was in Twister, that was what everybody knew him from. Like he stole that movie. Between him and Alan Ruck, who's from Ferris Bueller's, he plays Cameron. Like those bit characters, they were able to take what little gems they had in the script and turn their characters into like huge events to where you would watch the sequel of Twister only if Philip Seymour Hoffman was the
Right.
main character. That's how good they were. So I knew he was going to be something. Like when he was in Patch Adams too, he played like just a very straightforward, regular, not even goofy at all. Like he just played a straightforward character, and you just could tell that once he got those roles, he was going to take it. It's a shame he died.
He has a line in what you call it, Charlie Wilson's War, when he says something like, "Oh, I got my best guys on it." He's like, "Your best guy, yeah, your best guys," and he's like, "Well, it's me and another guy." Like, it's a great line. That's me and one other guy. It's
It was weird to see him up against Robin Williams because Robin Williams was off the chain in that movie, and to see, knowing that now I know that Hoffman is capable of playing right along with him, but he doesn't. He plays it straight, which is even better. It's just like, wow, you get to see his range because like he can be goofy, he can do all those things, but he's not. That's a good movie too, if you ever see that.
Which one's that?
Patch Adams.
Patch Adams. A lot of movies to see.
Oh man, I mean, an endless amount of movies. You're way behind.
Yeah, I know.
Having taken the first 33 years of your life off from watching movies, you've really put yourself in a bind.
Yeah.
So, which of the John Holmes features are we watching next week, guys? Are we going hard soap? Dracula Sucks? There's a couple other
If you
hot
can name
and
3
saucy,
John Holmes movies.
hot and saucy pizza girls.
Wait,
There
you're
you-
worried about your search engine? You're looking up John Holmes movies.
Oh, he's private browsing right now.
Right, he's just looking on his shelf.
You guys are so repressed.
Oh, I think maybe we should watch The Rock. Isn't that one of his movies?
I would be down to watch The Rock. I love The Rock. But I love Ed Harris. So.
Yeah, but he doesn't dance in this.
Oh, and he doesn't ride a motorcycle while dressed like a knight. Can we watch Knight Riders instead?
No.
What if
But
I
this
told you
has-
that Knight Riders is an actually good movie?
I wouldn't believe you because you made us watch Manhunter.
Dude, the internet, so far, you two are the only people on the internet that don't like Manhunter. It's sad.
You know what's funny? I listened to that episode today, and I realized why Dan and I were going back and forth.
I know.
and-
You know what I was doing? Sitting here thinking. I was like, I felt like the little kid when like the mom and dad are fighting.
Right.
I'm like, guys, just stop arguing, please.
But I realized, I'm like, if I had only said this, it might have avoided all. Because I realized I never actually said my point was that the only reason I felt like Lecter was important in that movie, minus Hopkins or whatever, was they made you think he was important because that's who he was going to see. So they made you think he was something special because he had chosen to go see him, and then he had expressed that I need to go get the taste again of this taste that I used to have that I no
get
longer
back
have.
on the scent.
Get
or
back on the
whatever.
scent. So I'm thinking, okay, that's 2 references to he needs this guy, so he must be important. So then that's why, even minus the Hopkins shit, that's what I was thinking the whole time when I was watching the movie, and then I was not conveying
It was
that,
really underwhelming for
what they were building up.
Yeah, the scent.
Right. So then
What
I was
they were
sitting there
building
going, as I'm listening to the episode today, I'm like, holy shit, I was thinking that the whole time, and I never said it once when we were arguing back and forth. That's why it had nothing to do with the comparison.
How
of
long
the
did you
2
guys
actors.
argue for that
Probably
about
like
that
a
for
half
like?
hour.
Yeah, it was still a long time, right?
I think the
I'm sure it was
original.
edited.
We're
Yeah,
We're
I think I
asking
cut
a lot.
like 35 minutes out of that episode.
dude, we're
Yeah.
asking a lot of our listeners, man. You guys go back and
But
forth.
it was
like-
aggravating me because I was like, why aren't you saying this?
All right,
This
we're
is
gonna.
what you were thinking.
I have
but
a
why
hand-
aren't you saying it?
I have a hand signal,
Uh-oh.
or maybe we need a safe word.
Safe word.
You know, so like when
How
you guys
about,
are like going around in circles, I could just be like, "Hey guys, you're going around in circles." Again.
Johnny Wad.
Can we like move on?
Johnny Wad.
Say
Johnny
community
Watt.
theater diva.
Okay, community theater diva. What should we call Dan?
I don't know.
Or
My
maybe,
wife
or
and I
maybe
have-
I'll just say, "Stop yelling at me."
My wife
Stop
and I
yelling
have
at each other.
a safe word. We say wow.
Wow, wow.
When we say something we shouldn't say in front of the kids about each other, one of us goes,
Wow.
wow.
That's perfect.
And then we know, okay, let's cut this until later because it's gone too far.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Wow. That's our keyword.
Wow.
So, what are we doing next week, guys? The Rock?
I think we're going to watch a little art house film called The Rock, which
The
has nothing to
Rock.
do with Dwayne Johnson.
Oh,
Oh,
but if
darn.
it did, it would be even better.
Oh, yeah. I kind of wish he was in it, but with that most electrifying move.
You guys can't see it, but I'm slapping my
he's
elbow
slapping
right
his
now.
elbow. He's got his eyebrow up too.
Ooh, but you know who The Rock does have?
TT.
TT. Don't want to say his name too many times. He might appear on the show.
What? What?
What?
What?
Oh, I was so excited last time I watched it to see him in that.
What do you know about The Rock? Anything? Other
Nothing.
Than he's a wrestler? Okay.
Absolutely nothing.
Cool. Cool.
Thanks for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. We'll be back next week with the 90s classic, The Rock.
What's the year so I can find the right movie?
We're gonna probably do a Meg thing, so you won't have to worry about it.
Okay.
She's able to operate the.
Yeah, for our listeners' benefit, the Meg thing is where my wife, Meg, sets up the movie on like a blank paused screen so that I don't see any of the art
Right.
or any of the credits or
And
whatever.
so you don't
Some
read
gene.
that the movie you're watching is based on the same book as the movie you watched last week.
You know, because I listened to a little bit of Manhunter too, and I was like, when you asked me that, it totally slipped my mind that like I didn't even pop this movie.
We had a back
in.
and forth. I'm like, he's gonna say
Meg
it.
did it. Meg started the movie because you told me to have her start it,
Right.
and I think she started it after it said that. So that's why I don't remember
So you
it.
never even saw the opening
never
scene
even
with the woman being woken up in her bed?
When did based on the novel?
That happened between the scene where the woman wakes up in her bedroom
Okay, no, never mind. Because I did see
and then the beach.
I did see the intro and the beach scene.
Yeah.
And it was during the beach scene, because of the dialogue, that I realized
I watched it again
Manhunter.
on mute, and it's still the same movie.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate it more
So
after
what
our
I
conversation.
said, what I said in the pod at the time was that I wasn't paying attention to the credits because I didn't want whatever it was I was supposed to be surprised about to be spoiled.
Right.
That is true, because it was on the screen and I didn't read it.
Which Dan said you're going to miss it completely.
Yeah.
I was like, you do realize it says based on based on Red
I
Dragon
was
right at the
worried.
beginning.
I
Dude,
didn't
guys,
think he'd read it.
when I'm trying to be surprised, like I have a really good, like I have really good willpower with that. Like
Right.
it's like, oh, this could have a spoiler, like, but let me read it anyway. It's like I don't do that. If I'm like I don't want it to be spoiled, like I very easily I can just shut it off. I just won't read the words.
Well, the reason why we do that is because like a movie like Dusk Till Dawn, when you buy the DVD, they assume you have seen it already.
Right.
So they do like a whole montage and all this stuff, and they give away everything in the
in the
menu.
DVD menu. It's like why?
It's like why?
You can't give away plot holes.
Yeah.
Not plot holes.
So, plot holes.
Plot.
Devices like babies. No, you're right, and that's my biggest issue
It's
with
like
DVDs.
you pop in the movie Signs, and it's just like Mel Gibson swinging a baseball bat.
Right.
Like it's like what the fuck?
The glass of water flies across the screen. It's like, why are they giving away the movie? What if I lent this out to somebody?
Exactly. the fuck? The fuck DVD menu people.
Now, if it's like the 4th commemorative, 4K reissue, reunion anniversary edition, Criterion. Okay, yeah, some geek bought this and he's seen it 27 times. But the regular DVD, don't give away the movie in the menu. It's so dumb. Drives me nuts. It's bothered me since, I guess, around VHSs when they didn't do that.
You pop in The Sixth Sense and you see it's like
Bruce
DVD
Willis's
menu, like,
funeral. It's like, what?
The wedding ring rolling across the screen.
Right on the menu, it's like he's grabbing the red doorknob. He's been dead the whole time. That's like a scrolling text. Dead the whole time. It's like, why? What's the point? I lent this to my mom. She's never seen it.
Roger Ebert says you won't believe he was dead the whole time. Damn it.
Now I get it if it's the movie Titanic and you show the boat sinking. We all know the boat sank.
Unless it's a
But-
Quentin Tarantino movie. And maybe it didn't.
Right.
Oh, man.
So
So
I think we talked about the Jaws thing where it's like if you watch it in reverse, it's a story about a shark that keeps throwing up people until they go lay out on the beach.
he puts them back together. And
Oh, shit.
man, this week, just to
my
kill
God.
time, wife was working, kids were in bed. I put on some Unsolved Mysteries from the 80s.
Ooh, yes.
And I watched that as a kid. So
Me too.
I was 4, 5, 6 years old watching this on TV. The
Mhm.
one I watched involved the Black Dahlia killer.
Yes.
And at one point, the detective guy like describes in graphic detail genital mutilation and the fact that she was like gutted and
Yeah.
cleaned and found in 2
Filleted, yeah.
pieces. And then they have like a recreation where there's 2 sheets slightly separated. Oh my God. Why did my parents let me watch that show?
Is it Robert Stack?
Robert
I
Stack,
still
yeah.
love God.
To be fair, it might
They
explain
never
a
found the
lot
killer.
about what's wrong with me, right? That I
Yeah.
grew up watching that in Rescue 911. But I turned out fine, right? Right? Right?